It's a guy thing. It's a clicker. Are we up there yet? I know I don't normally do PowerPoints, but harmony has to be obeyed. Davis hasn't quite got to harmony stature, but he's getting close. Before I actually start the PowerPoint, I wanted to congratulate our newly elected president of the Health Directors Association, Jackie, congratulations. Janine, Lynx Leg, I saw you out there somewhere. Congratulations on getting elected as the vice president to the Health Directors Association. That's great. Thank you. I had a meeting with the health directors. It was supposed to be 30 minutes and ended up being closer to 60. And I drew great energy from that meeting. Very sharp questions. They kept me on my feet. And I know that our working relationship, Jackie, has hit a new level. And we are going to do great work together. So I'm looking forward to working together with you and Janine. Congratulations. Now let's see if Kelly can do a PowerPoint. Our work is not new, but it began to take significant progress on March 17th, 2005, when the elected executive of the Union of BC Indian Chiefs, the elected executive of the First Nations Summit, and our local boy, Dungood, then Regional Chief Atenchut, signed an agreement where we decided to put down our differences. And we agreed to look at those things that we have in common, the unresolved land question, and to create a healthier place for our children and our grandchildren. That created an opportunity for the province of British Columbia and the Government of Canada to begin working with a unified voice, one voice in British Columbia. On November 26, 2006, Premier Gordon Campbell signed off a bilateral agreement with the First Nations Leadership Council and created an ongoing commitment that British Columbia would provide all of the services that it makes available to British Columbians, to Status Indians living at home and away from home. I remembered, Cliff. Living at home and away from home. Last year, we gathered a few miles from here in Richmond. We set out to do two things. We wanted to achieve an informed decision. We also wanted to keep our unity. And so we wanted to achieve a consensus decision. And we accomplished that May 26, 2011, a short year ago. Through a sacred ceremony at the Longhouse at Capilano, the Honourable Minister, Leona Glukak, the Honourable Michael DeYoung, the National Chief, and others participated in a sacred ceremony to sign that framework agreement. And it gave us 2 years to do this work. When we adopted that resolution a year ago, we created that little blue book that I call my Bible. I refer to that document every day that I'm working on your behalf. Every council meeting, we refer to it. Every time, and I now have Health Canada. Would you please stand? Health Canada is carrying our little Bible with them. See? The province of British Columbia, would you please stand? They carry that Bible. They know what you told us. If we're going to do this, let's do this to make healthcare better. If we're going to do this, let's blend the best of modern medicine together with our sacred teachings, our shwalam, our medicine men and women, and our traditional medicines. And let's make sure that while we're taking care of our body, although that's something I need to continue working on, I'll come back to that. Where was I? Oh yes, taking care of our body. We also have to take care of our mind, our heart, and our spirit. And what a beautiful way that we started with those regional processions, with those children showing pride in who they are and where they come from. And that's the work that we're embarked on. Change, it's a bit scary. It's troubling sometimes when we confront opportunity. Sometimes we allow fear to overtake us. Sometimes we allow a lack of confidence, although to be truthful, I don't know what that feels like. Sometimes we're more accustomed to dealing with the devil we know. But together, we will overcome fear. We will overcome doubts. We will provide very clear direction on how it is that we will manage change. Change is not going to manage us. We've learned from others, and we will continue learning. It's really important that as we move from the First Nations Health Society to the interim First Nations Health Authority to the First Nations Health Authority, that we create a learning organization. We have to be able to learn. We learn from one another. We learn from others in other parts of the world. We learn from failures. We learn from success. And so it's important that we maintain committed leadership. And I have to tell you, I was so proud when our team told us that we overachieved again. That there were 190 chiefs and proxies pre-registered for this gathering. 190 of 203. You've given me hope that next year we'll have 203 of 203. You have provided very clear direction that we keep our politics separate from our business. And we're doing that, and we will continue to do that. What we want to make sure that we do is that we do this work together. For the last 2 years, you have participated in this engagement and approval pathway. It's an important part of the way that we do our business. We do no change without talking about it first. We do no change without listening, learning, and then deciding. But when we make a decision, it will be an informed decision, knowing what saying yes means. and understanding what saying no means. And so we have created a pathway that will allow us to make sure that you, your citizens, the health directors, chiefs and leaders will be actively engaged and doing the work as we proceed. In that resolution that was endorsed a year ago, it sounds like I have a lisp, but I actually have a friend in my mouth, a fisherman's friend. I have a really bad cold. I don't know if it sounds like it, but I do. Reminds me of that time I interviewed for a fishery officer job when I was 20 years old, 32 years ago. And that was a long time ago. Shanna wasn't even born then. I'm sorry, Davis. Harmony, I deviated. Back to the PowerPoint. That's why they wanted me to have a PowerPoint. You asked us in that resolution to sign the framework agreement, and we did that. In the same way that last night, Vancouver Island First Nations and the Vancouver Island Health Authority, in a sacred ceremony, marked the signing of a new partnership. We did the same on October 13th last year. We have a lot of work to do to implement that agreement. There's a number of sub-agreements that we need to reach. And those sub-agreements are not about negotiations. They're actually about planning on how to implement the components of the framework agreement. And so it's a lot about, let's do it this way. No, that won't work. Well, let's do it that way. Well, that might work. And so that's the discussion that we're having at the table now, is making sure that we develop a plan that allows us to meet transferring Health Canada, the Pacific region of First Nations Inuit Health Branch, from Health Canada control to your control April 1 next year. We held a planning session in Victoria, inviting the Assistant Deputy Minister, Michelle Waugh, from Health Canada, Graham Whitmarsh and senior officials from the BC Ministry of Health Services, and members of the First Nations Health Council to set out what we see as being important in a health partnership accord. And we have provided direction to our team to begin drafting that accord. In a moment, I will be showing you the structure of our committees that are carrying out the work. You gave us direction to begin tackling the question, what is the authority of our authority? What is the structure of our structure? And we've engaged you in some of that very early dialogue. And that dialogue will continue through this assembly, and it'll continue into future engagement. One of the things that I'm really excited about is that you told us to take the early steps to create the interim First Nations Health Authority, and we've done that work. We are taking steps to be ready. Today, the interim First Nations Health Authority is not responsible for the delivery and program and services to your citizens and to your people. But on April 1st next year, we want to be doing just that. We've come a long way in this last year in the development of working relationships and understandings with the regional health authorities. The Fraser Health Authority in December last year signed a partnership accord where we have created a regional table where the leadership of the Fraser Salish Health Caucus, together with the senior executives and the board chair of the Fraser Health Authority, will jointly make decisions on services provided to our people. Last evening, I was proud to witness the Vancouver Island First Nations Health Caucus signing a very similar agreement with the Vancouver Island Health Authority. Later on, we're expecting in our agenda that Vancouver Coastal and the Northern will also be signing a similar agreement. What those partnership accords do is they help us understand that the work to improve health service delivery, to improve the access, is on the ground. That's where the work takes place, and we're looking forward to getting your direction on creating the capacity through regional offices to support that work on the ground. I already talked about that one. I need to work on my timing of these slides, don't I? We have structured by the framework agreement an implementation committee. And initially, we rotated the chair of the implementation committee between Mr. Potter, Arlene Patton, and myself. I chaired the first meeting and we were done an hour early. Arlene Patton missed the second meeting, and so I chaired the second meeting and we were done an hour and a half early. On the third meeting, Mr. Potter didn't get his chance to chair. That committee decided that I would be their chair because I make them work and we get decisions done in a timely way. Might be the size, huh? We have structured a sub-agreement subcommittee, and that's the group that leads the work on each of those sub-agreements that are identified in the framework agreement. We have an interim management committee where our regional director, Yusuf Ali, and our CEO, Joe Gallagher, work through the issues that bubble up at their table to make sure that we don't get in each other's way as we're managing change. We have a transition subcommittee to help us make sure that we manage change and change doesn't manage us. And of course, this work can't be done without arms and legs. And so we have a senior management team. See, I talked about that one too. And I talked about the need for regional tables, and that is part of the consensus paper discussion. That will be part of the debate that we have on the resolution. We need your direction on moving ahead with the concepts and ideas that emerge from our engagement. Our work will continue, and we'll continue debate through this assembly and through future engagement on the structure of our structure and the authority of our authority. This afternoon, we'll be engaging in regional caucuses. Some of the regional caucuses have a little bit of housekeeping to do in terms of sorting out who their representatives and confirming their representatives in some instances, holding elections in others, to make sure that we repopulate the First Nations Health Council. In those regional caucus sessions this afternoon, you'll be reviewing the consensus paper. You'll be reviewing the resolution that was sent out a week ago. We'll be calling upon each of the regional caucuses to appoint one chief or leader that will participate on the resolutions committee to make sure that we strengthen that resolution. It is a draft resolution that was prepared to stimulate debate and discussion and to prepare for this meeting. We've asked Shanna Manson. Shanna, would you stand? And Chief Willie Charlie to co-chair that resolutions committee to provide leadership support to make sure that we deal with friendly amendments in a good way. Want to encourage you, if you have a question on any of the work that we're doing, please raise it during your regional caucus. Please flag those questions. Our team, our regional liaisons, and our support team will be assembling those questions, and they're going to make sure that they inform some of those that are making presentations tomorrow. And so those presentations that are scheduled for tomorrow, those presentations will be amended as required to address as many of those questions that you may identify during your regional caucus. can't read my own writing. Maybe Evan, you can come up here and translate for me. I think he has terrible handwriting too. I can hear you laughing. Where are you? There he is. Thank you, Evan. These bright lights or something. You should be up here. You should see it from this side. My handwriting, I can read it now. One of the things that we want to do with our work, one of the things that we learned early in a planning session with Dr. Trevor Hancock, who often does work for the BC Ministry of Health Services, is that when it comes to health and the health system, and most of you have heard me describe that it's not a system that provides health, it's actually a system that deals with the sick. One of the things that we've decided that we want to do after engaging in a workshop with Dr. Trevor Hancock is that we need to eradicate health illiteracy. Canadians, British Columbians, and us, we don't fully understand or appreciate the choices that we make and the impact on our personal wellness, and that we have to inform ourselves, that we have to take responsibility for our own well-being, that we can't go to our health director, in my case, Mark Hamilton or Virginia Peters, and say, "Fix me, I'm broken." I'd like to be able to do that, and I'd like them to have a magic wand, but I have to do that work. We also want to make sure that our people understand that when they're not well, that they know how to navigate the system and that they can get the best care possible. Yesterday, we were asked to participate in assessing our own well-being. And I sat down at the venue where the Vancouver Island First Nations were getting ready to celebrate. And Wayne Christian, a chief, a leader, a friend, a brother, came up to me and said, "I heard you got bawled out for 45 minutes by those counselors in that health assessment." And he no sooner finished saying that than Dr. Sarah came up to me and said, "I heard you got bawled out for 45 minutes on your own wellness." And I looked at the good doctor and I said, "So much for confidentiality." So to be accountable, turns out my blood sugar is good. Turns out my cholesterol is good. There's a wee bit too much of me to love or hate. We do live in a society of choice. I always thought my wife's arms are just too short. Consequently, I have high blood pressure. So at next year, I'm going to be reporting on bringing that down. And I hope my wife's arms get longer and she can actually reach all the way around me. Thank you for listening to both some of the PowerPoint. You'll notice I ignored some of it, but also listening to me. I'm looking forward to engaging with you, participating and listening, learning, and then making informed decisions. Thank you, chiefs and leaders.